I'll go ahead and pass it to Maria Anderson and to Regina Joyce. So you both have the floor, however you guys want to start it.
Thanks, Ed. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing good. This is Maria Anderson. I'm going to do the demo of how to do the expense entry into Fieldglass. And then Regina will follow up after this demo. The demo should be maybe 5 minutes on, processes and things you should know from a supplier side. So I will go ahead and share my screen so I can show you how to enter the expenses. And the view I'm going to show you is how to enter expenses for a worker, not from a worker view, since this is the Merrick team. I think it'll be a little bit easier for you. So let me share my screen one sec. All right, so I am showing my Fieldglass screen. Ed, can you confirm you see my screen? Hey, Ed?
We can see it.
Okay, thank you for confirming. I appreciate that. Okay, so if you're going to submit an expense on behalf of a worker, you're going to want to go up to the view button and you're going to want to view a worker. This view option is going to show you all the workers that you have in your list. Again, this is just a test site, so it's not real, but ideally the worker list will show here and you'll find the worker that you need to enter an expense for. When you find that worker, go ahead and select their ID. Let's try David. And under the actions option, you're going to hit create expense sheet. When you see this, you're going to notice there's different expense codes here, and there's going to be expense code for every single task and charge code that worker has. This particular worker only has one instance, but if the worker has 5, there will literally be 5 room rates, 5 room tax rates, 5 MIEs, and etc. Okay, so quick call out there. The room rate is what we're going to be using for lodging. If your worker does their long-term lodging, Regina will explain further on how that should be inputted. But for clarity, room rate is also considered lodging. And then room rate for hotels, in case there is a tax line that is separate, that is indicated here. For this demo, I'm just going to do room rate and airfare as an example. Okay, so once you select it, it's not going to open a new window. You're actually just going to scroll down and they'll have a few options here. So the first one is the date. The date should be the date that the item was purchased. And again, Regina can clarify if this needs to be different, but for this demonstration, that's how we're going to proceed. The merchant will be, who owns it. So in this one, we can say Delta. This one, we can say Hilton. If this is going to be for reimbursement of lodging, for example, an apartment, this will be the hotel or not the hotel, the apartment or lodging company's name here. And for the description, this would be the dates applicable for that stay. So if it's for 2 weeks, if it's for, and I apologize for the background noise, if it's for a certain date range, you could put 1/1 to 1/5 and etc. The amount is just that. So I'll put 200 here and 200 here. Alrighty. This will require receipts. Just in this instance of Fieldglass, again, Regina will go over what specifically needs to be inserted as backup documentation, but for this demo, receipts are required. And there's 2 places for that. The first one is by line. So as you see, we did airfare and a room rate here. And, in a normal circumstance, there will be 2 separate receipts for that. So those would go here, which I'm just going to select 2 random documents just for this. And then if it is for a one item, you can attach any backup logs here. I will call out, let's say that this is a general, a high level hotel expense that we're doing. If the hotel receipt is for 5 nights, rather than sitting here and adding that many lines, if you hit copy with your attachment, it will bring that attachment down for the worker. And it's a whole lot easier than sitting here having to click this button, upload, find the document. Instead, you could just hit copy and it will bring it down, and you could just adjust the date that you need. So quick trick with that. Comments, add any additional comments as needed. I'm just going to put NA for this demo, and you can hit submit, and it'll ask you, do you want to submit? And then it will be submitted. As a supplier, since you're submitting the expense on behalf of a worker, you will have to go back and approve this to make sure that it was submitted correctly. And just to do that, it's going to show up in your work items here as an expense sheet to complete and to approve. And then once you approve, then it will route to Lanel to begin invoicing. Okay. So before I pass the ball to Regina to go over processes and what should be in certain places, I'm going to keep my demo screen open just in case. Are there any questions on the demo piece?
Hi, this is Nancy Mills. I do have one question. Just in the little bit of folks putting them in the system last week, some of them were attaching the lodging information at the overall expense report, and some were putting it on the line, and it seemed that in some cases it would take it and some wouldn't. Do you know the specifics on if they have the attachment at the overall expense report, will that let the lodging go through, or does it have to be on each lodging line?
Let's try, because I've heard that same scenario actually. Let me go back to the home button. I've seen that same scenario occur. If I'm not mistaken, it has to be by line, but let's give it a try here. One sec. That's a very good question. Oh, backwards. This is not the real one. This is, okay, perfect. So let's do Robert. Create an expense for this person. And let's do room rate. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to just the overall expense sheet rather than the line, okay? And let's see what happens. So it errors out. So in this instance, if you're going to do the hotel room, it has to be by the actual line item rather than the expense report as a whole.
Okay,
so if you have someone, yeah, no problem. And if you have, like I said, with multiple lines where they're adding, multiple dates rather than adding a new one, just hit copy. And if you had that attachment here, it will just add it to that line for you. So you don't have to keep going in and adding it separately. But that was a great question. Any more questions? Okay.
Actually, this is Nancy again. So if we have to enter I'm sorry, let me think about this for a minute. We have to enter, say, lodging and per diem meals by person, by charge code, and by category. So if they have 6 charge codes and we're doing it for a month at $72 a day, then we have to enter 6 times the room rate for each of those charge codes and 6 times for the M&IE for each of those charge codes.
So that's actually where I'm going to let Nancy confirm, because there is a way that, for example, if you have that instance where, they have multiple days, you could just do one and just put the overall cost here and have a backup that provides that breakdown. But I'm going to let Regina confirm if that's the proper way that she'd like it done for your group.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. But before we get to Regina, were there any more questions about the demo on how to enter certain items? Okay. All right, Ms. Regina, I'm going to pass the ball to you. I'm going to stop sharing, but if you want me to go back and give a demo on something on where they need to put in certain things, I can gladly share my screen.
Yeah, Marie, if you can keep it up
Okay.
and get to where the room rate, how they would attach expenses, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Good morning, everybody. So let's start with the lodging. Depending on the contract, some contracts require receipts for lodging and some contracts do not. What I would ask when you're filling out the lines, Marie, can we go into room rate, please? So for merchant, we would put if it's whatever the hotel is or if they are renting the place that they're renting from. And then the description, because we're billing the invoicing on a monthly basis, we're going to put it for the whole month. So in this case, because we started December 7th, it would be description December 7th through December 31st. And then the total, the US dollar amount would be the total cost for the month. And if you want to put also in the description how much you're billing us per day in parentheses, that would also help us. So if you want to do, you know, $72 a day or whatever the rate is, okay? When it comes to the attachments, I want to make it easy for you guys. So I know you have like their expense sheet that's going to have the invoice certification on that now on your employees covered page, and then all the receipts. You don't have to break it up, just attach all that information to each item. So you would have it for room, you would have it for M&IE, because you have to have some kind of attachment. So instead of breaking it out, you can just keep everything all together. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Have we tested the size that's allowed in here and attachments of the
We
file?
have not actually, and that's a great question. I can certainly ask Fieldglass that and follow up with you. But hold on, let me see what it tells us here. Right here, up to 5 megabytes.
And that's per expense
Per
report.
expense line, expense line.
Okay.
I didn't
Okay,
do
we
the
should be
general, just the
fine.
line. Yep,
Yep. Okay, thank you.
no problem.
Okay, can we go to the other list, Maria, go back one? Okay, so you have the room rate. You won't have the tax if they're renting an apartment. M&IE, can you open that, Marie? So if they're traveling and there's travel, you know, first, last day of travel, of course, they get a different rate than the full per diem. So if they're traveling, I would say put two days at travel and 28 at 100% M&IE. So that would help us to know how did you come up with your total. And we'll also see it when you guys give us the backup, but just to give us a little description. And once again, you're going to do it for the whole month. You don't have to do 31 lines or how many days in a month it is. So it'll be easier. Okay, let's go to the airfare. So what we would like for the airfare is to put, you know, in the merchant once again who they're flying, their Delta, American, whoever they're using. And for the description, if you can put the days that they are flying. So sometimes it'll be, okay, they're going home for Christmas, so December 21st, we would be able to see that they're leaving Los Alamos to go back to Florida, and then the second date would be their return. So if you can put dates of travel, return home, December 21st, return to Llano, January 5th, or something like that, so we can, so it's clear to everybody what they're traveling. And then once again, it'll be a total value. Anybody have any questions on that?
It's Nancy again. So the airfare, we typically don't let them charge the airfare until they return from their round trip, if it's a round trip ticket.
Yes.
So if this happens to be the billing month of December, so it's just a notation that they will be returning January 5th, but we wouldn't even have the airfare on there until the January invoice.
So you wouldn't show it in your December billing, you would show it in your January billing?
So we would just make note as far as the reduced mileage or the reduced meals that they left
Correct.
to go home. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that'll be fine. And then for the M&IE, just how many miles, if you guys can supply a map as always, because sometimes you guys come up with different mileage than we do, and I rather approve you in full than to reject the invoice if we come out with something less than what you're requesting. So I would say if you guys can put how many miles and at what rate are you billing the mileage at? Because as we all know, January, the rates are going to change with the new year. So that's pretty much what we have. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, it's pretty much how you guys are doing the expenses now. Venetia, is there anything that you want to add on your side because you're reviewing the expenses? Something that make it easier for review? Okay. And if you do have any questions as you're doing the expenses, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Venetia Velarde, and we'll help you and walk you through it. Any last questions?
I guess this is Peter. Is there a way to set up a template that can be used each month so you don't have to enter the information in fresh each time?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. The expenses are done by worker. So you unfortunately have to do a template, but not a template, a expense line for whichever expenses per worker. We don't have the ability to add a template into the system at this time, at least.
Is there a way to copy a previous expense report to the new one and change the dates?
That's a great question. Let's see. Oops, let me get out of this one. See if I break it. All right, so let's go to this one. Actions. No, you cannot copy a previously submitted expense sheet. You have to do a brand new one. Sorry.
Okay.
I wish that would be great, and that's great feedback for Fieldglass.
Well, yeah, because it's, typically, unless they're traveling home, it's the same amount every time. So it'd be a lot faster for me to copy a previous one and change the dates.
Right.
Can we request that or?
Not at this time. I can certainly send as a recommendation to Fieldglass, but that's not a function that we can turn on in the system.
Okay. If I can get clarification, because we're doing these for a 4-week period, we have expense reports that will be attached for each week, and then a cover sheet for the month. Am I understanding right that we then put in this one time sheet to cover that cover sheet? So it covers the entire period, or do we still have to do 4 timesheets? Or 4 expense reports, not timesheets, expense reports.
Okay, okay, sorry. So you're gonna have the cover, which is gonna be a summary for the 4 weeks, correct? With the invoice certification on it. And then you, I believe, have your employees submit on a weekly basis their expenses. So if you wanna submit 4 weeks to your cover sheet, that's fine. I'm not gonna make you redo the whole process and have you do one summary.
But we could do one summary, I mean, just the one for the whole month?
So you'll do a summary for the whole month, but your backup will be by week, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but that will be on the PDF.
Correct.
Okay.
So let me make sure I understand this process. So at each week, they're still doing their Excel version expense reports like we've always done. And then I'm going to go in here at each month end, have their individual weekly expense reports in a PDF. I'm going to do a summary for room, summary for M&IE, and whatever else happened that month, and attach all 4 of those expense reports to that line item and submit it. And so there's no overall summary invoice anymore. You're just going to gather up all 60 of these guys and pay them each, and each one of their submittals is an invoice, and then you'll sweep all 60 of those invoices and pay them. Is that my understanding?
So you almost have it perfect. So what you're going to do is for each guy, John Smith, he has 4 weeks. My understanding was you guys were going to do a cover for the PDF, adding up the 4 weeks and getting that signed by an officer in your company, because the invoice certification is still a requirement of the contract. So we need that attached.
So what we did was we changed our expense report and put that certification right on each expense report.
Okay.
And I'm signing
fine.
off on those, each
For each
individual. Would that work?
For each week?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll work. That's fine. But the
Okay.
summary will be in the field glass. That will work. That's fine.
So you'll have one summary expense submittal within field glass with all the weeks attached that each have a certification on them.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Did that answer your question, Stan?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Ed. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay. I had the same problem you did, Regina, to where my audio wasn't working, so I had to hang up and call in. Does NARIC SMSI have any additional questions?
I'm just curious, and I don't know if you have the answers to this, but once those are approved and they turn to invoices and they get sent to the LANL system, then what's the time frame of payment on those?
The payment is going to be net 15.
At the point in which they get swept each week into LANL system, right?
Yes, from the approval point, once the invoice is approved, it's net 15. And it'll probably be sooner than that, but we're just saying net 15.
Okay. And does our contract allow to bill twice a month or just monthly?
On a
Does
monthly
anyone-
basis.
Monthly basis.
Okay. Okie dokie.
And again, if you have any questions when you start doing it, do not hesitate to give us a call. We're going to make this video available since it's specific to America's MSI. We'll figure out a way to make it specifically available for you all. But other than that, if you don't have any other questions, Regina, do you have anything else for them?
No, just like I said, if you have any questions or you run into any roadblocks, just give me a call and I'll help you through it. Or I'll try to help you through it.
Maria, do you have anything else?
Nothing on my end either. I will send out the user guide on how to submit expenses just for reference in case you need it. But no additional comments on my side.
I have one more question. I'm assuming that none of these, the expense reports won't be submitted, but the timesheets, none of those will be paid in December. Is that correct? They'll all flow into January.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
Anything that's been put into Fieldglass with regards to the timesheets, none of those will be paid in December. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about the time. Ed, do you know?
The 17th, I think, was the earliest that anything was submitted or accepted. So I'm assuming nothing would be paid in December.
Well, if something was submitted and it was approved, it will get paid. Net 15.
Yeah, but we're closed. You're closed down that last week. So I'm just assuming that there's nothing going to be paid in December. They'll all come in January. And I just wanted to confirm that.
I can't speak on behalf of accounts payable, to be honest with you, because I don't want to say that no. We are closed, and it's safe to say what you just said, but I can pose the question to accounts payable if any checks are going to be released, because I don't know. I'll pose the question.
I was just trying to do tax planning.
No, good question, because I don't think anybody on this call knows. Unless somebody on this call knows, I'll check with AP and I'll let you all know. I think you're right, but I'll double check.
Okay, thanks.
All righty, everybody. I do want to thank you for your time again, and have a good day.
Thank you.